Right, good evening and welcome to this evening's meeting of City of Burnside Council on the 25th of October of 2022, opening at 7 p.m. Welcome to those in the gallery and those who are watching from home, and welcome back to Mr. Cant from his bonny Scotland. And it's good to have our complement of all three directors present tonight. Please stand and remain silent for the acknowledgements. We acknowledge the land we meet on today is the traditional land of the Kaurna people and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the original custodians of the Adelaide region and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still important to the Kaurna people today. We pay respect to the cultural authority of Aboriginal people visiting and attending from other areas of South Australia and Australia. On behalf of the City of Burnside, I gratefully acknowledge and pay respect to those who sacrifice their lives for this country and its people. We also consider in our thoughts all those who today are being affected by war in 52 places around the globe, especially those in Ukraine. Finally, we seek guidance in our debate as we make decisions that will impact on the lives of all who reside, study, work in or visit the City of Burnside. Grant us wisdom as we serve our country, our community. Please be seated. We have a relatively short agenda again tonight. Since we're in caretaker period, mask wearing is optional. Please remain respectful and patient during the debates and allow everyone to be heard, and use the auto cue system when you wish to speak. Use your microphone while speaking, but switch it off when you finish. Also, please make sure that your mobile phones are turned off or placed on silent before we begin the rest of the meeting. We have an apology from Councillor Davis. We have no leave of absence. Is there anyone who wishes to declare an interest? Fairly unlikely tonight. All right, thank you. Confirmation of minutes, I seek a mover. Councillor Cornish, and seconded by Councillor Henschke. All those in favour? Against? Carried. There's no adjourned business or public presentations or deputations, so we go straight to reports, and I will call them out for withdrawal. 11.1, I believe, Councillor Davey, you have something you wish to add. Finance end of month report. No, I will. Councillor Lemon, are you?
I'll move it.
You're moving it. Seconded by Councillor Dawes. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Mayor's activity statement. There's just a couple of little errors in there that I noticed that just need to be fixed for the records. I'll just jump to that one. 11.3. Eastern region in the first dot point. It's my fault. And presided over the City of Burnside, not if in the fourth dot point down. That's all. Just wanted to correct those two.
I missed it.
Sorry? What's that? Okay. All right, so Councillor Henschke, you willing to move that? And seconded by Councillor Cornish. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Next one is the Chief Executive's report. Are you moving that or wanting to withdraw it, Councillor?
I want to pull it, thanks.
All right, Councillor Davey wishes to withdraw it. So we'll now go back to Councillor Davey and Beulah Park traffic. Item 11.1, page 7.
Thank you, Mayor. I've got a slight amendment that I wish to move, just to build on the work that's already been done, and I'll read it out for those who might be listening at home. So this is on Beulah Park traffic around Oban Avenue and Verdun Street. One, that Council receives that the Beulah Park traffic report be received. Two, that to support residential amenity, the following be implemented as soon as practicable in Oban Street, Beulah Park. A, installation of yellow lines to delineate appropriate or legal parking opportunities in the narrow street. And B, installation of no parking across from another car signage. 3, the administration continue work with DIT to install the signage promised at the Verdun Street McGill Road intersection to prevent vehicles queuing across Verdun Street Beulah Park when traffic is approaching or stopped at the McGill Road intersection. So it's just a couple of tiny up things. I thank the staff for their report and all the work they've done on this area. But I've moved this way as there's just those remaining issues to tidy up after the big McGill-Portrush Road intersection upgrade has opened to traffic nearly 12 months ago in November 2021. As I said, thank you for the report and all the work and the traffic survey results of May 2022, which have been undertaken following closure of Thornbury Street, Beulah Park. The result is a positive one for Verdun and Thornbury Street residents, but less so for those in Oban Street. The table at paragraph 29 on page 12 shows the increase in traffic rates through Oban Street as has been measured in May 2022. I understand they have increased since this time, with residents finding the increase, plus the congested and somewhat ad hoc parking in Oban Street, a problem for their daily living. They still experience hassles with, on occasions, with access for East Waste, having their bins emptied, are experiencing overflow parking from businesses across McGill Road, and have difficulty accessing their driveways from time to time due to poorly parked vehicles. They believe that painting of yellow lines will help this to indicate to motorists in a hurry usually, where they should actually park. The signage is required, as is found in many streets across Burnside, for example in Yeronga Avenue, to remind motorists when parking in such a narrow road not to park directly across from each other. So it slows the traffic down certainly, but it really is a narrow road, and they're very concerned about access for emergency services vehicles and, as I mentioned, for their bins. Finally, the final third point is that when the discussions were being held with the Department of Infrastructure and Transport about the upgrade, residents requested that there be a no stopping section painted on the road at the Verdun Street portion of McGill Road, because when vehicles are travelling west, they cross over and sit at the lights and just block the whole entry into Verdun Street, so residents can't get in and out. So they want to stop motorists queuing, and I believe that did have put some signage up, but it's not in the right place. So I just wondered if we could have some interactions with DIT and ask them to put it into the right place so that the residents can access their road safely and get in and out. So that's essentially the motion tonight. So hopefully you'll support this.
I seek a seconder. Councillor Piggott.
Yes, I'm happy to second it. I've got a couple of questions on it, if I could. Can I defer speaking on it?
Yes, you certainly
can. And then if I could ask some questions? Yep.
You want to speak first and then ask questions?
No, I'd like
not
to
the other way
defer
around.
Speaking. Can I, whatever it is?
Reserve your right, so you want to ask questions
I've only been here
first.
12 years, I'm a learner. Thank you.
Okay.
A couple of questions. Just on point 3, is it true that DIT has promised us signage that's not there?
Through Madam Mayor, yes, that's correct. And they've delayed the implementation of that, so I'm actually more than happy to, well, if this does get up, I'll use this as imprimatur to write to them again and formally request to be completed.
Thank you. And the second one was in regard to number 2, I guess, in regard to the parking on Oban Street. And I saw this interesting because I think when this came to council, I made a bit of a fuss about it. I felt sure we were going to have to close the street off, and it's interesting that hasn't happened. Who knew? But the question is, this asks for installation of yellow lines. So do we understand that as in regard to that maintains all the spots, but it does make it more formalised in terms of where you can and you can't? I think it says there's 15 spots there at the moment. And then the no parking across from another car, we had as many as 11 at one stage in point 17, the table. Would that effectively mean that we can only have perhaps 7 or 8? Don't know. Does that make sense? what does that do to the current situation is what I'm after.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, so, Madam Mayor, I think there was two questions there. One was about the
Yes.
yellow lines.
Yes.
And to my understanding is, Pod A is what it's saying there, we won't be taking away from legal parks that currently exist. We'll just be perhaps more clearly articulating where you shouldn't park. And I might hand the second part of the question over to Mr. Cant, or Mr. Harvey.
Through your worship, there's approximately 15 valid parking spots. Oban Street's not particularly wide, and it's not really viable to park opposite another vehicle, although the 15 basically takes that into consideration. So at the busiest time there was 11 cars parked there, so there was still 4 parks available, but that's quite busy.
Right. Thank you.
Councillor Cornish.
Thank you, Worship. I do have a question, and it goes to number 2 again. My understanding yellow lanes is about where you can't park, not where you can park. With 2A is where we've actually worded it. Should we be changing it slightly? It's to delineate appropriate legal parking opportunities with yellow lines. I just wonder whether or not we should be doing those corral things with the actual boxes in white lines to actually delineate what the parks were, or is it yellow lines to say you can't park here and everywhere else is parkable? Is that what we're actually trying to say with 2A? I just wonder whether or not the yellow lines, do we just remove the word yellow to make it a bit more, you installing lines?
Through Madam Mayor, just perhaps a question to Councillor Davey. So I have got your intent correct in the way I've been explaining it?
It's just the primary problem is people parking across people's driveways and that they can't visualise backing out. So if it's more appropriate to word it another way, I'm happy with that.
I'm happy interpreting it the way you're implying it, but I do take Peter's point that we have worded it the interesting way.
Can it be reworded to delineate not appropriate and illegal parking opportunities?
Inappropriate.
Or inappropriate, yeah.
Inappropriate and illegal.
Yes.
I guess if we seek the permission of the mover.
So do you want to change it to delineate inappropriate
So
and
if
illegal?
you just give me 2 minutes, I'll just work with these.
Look at Sarah's face.
I know. You shake your head.
You've got to say that with words all the time.
I can't talk too loud because I'll think I'm saying through the microphone.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If the mover is happy with the wording that I've got up there now in 2A, which says installation of yellow lines to delineate illegal parking to the narrow street, my team are happy that they've got clear direction.
And seconder, happy with that? Okay, thank you. Councillor Dawes.
Yes, I'm on my bandwagon again. A question for administration. I'm still uncertain whether we can do this in caretaker period. Right now, if we pass this tonight, so I won't. Can I first ask the question? Administration and with the caretaker policy, are we in line with this to change the motion to support a couple of further traffic enhancements.
Through Madam Mayor, I guess the way I've reflected on this is that, one, the report was in the agenda, and what's been moved here actually is not removed from the action, apart from perhaps the yellow lines we were going to take anyway. So we were already doing our level best with part 3. That simply gives me some more imprimatur to pursue that. The installation of yellow lines adds weight to what we were doing, but again, I don't see it as a major step away from what we're trying to achieve in that street. So I am comfortable that this isn't breaching caretaker provisions.
Okay, can I speak?
Yes.
So I'll vote on the motion later on. A couple of things I want to add, and already Councillor Davies made note of the table on page 12, and there are 2 areas there where there's been an increase. Oban Street between 8 and 9 a.m. So I'm taking that people who've gone down Verdon and then onto Oban to avoid the intersection. And I think that's something for the new council, that do we have a no turn right somewhere on Verdon to stop them turning right into Oban? So that's something for the future. I don't know the answer to that, but that is double what it was a year ago. So that was a bit of a concern, only between the hours of 8 and 9. The other one, which hasn't been mentioned, is Howard Street. If you look at Howard Street, those numbers are steadily increasing over the last 2 years. And even though the speed is in line with the 85th percentile, I think that's another area to look at very, very closely for the future about Howard Street. I know that some residents have already mentioned that in the past, but when we do the next reading in 2023, I'd like to see whether that has stabilised. But in every other street, it's decreased since the intersection has been upgraded at McGill and Portrush. Thank you.
Councillor Henschke.
I've lost you. Okay, thank you. Back again. Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question, thank you. My question to the administration, please. Does this meet the criteria we have for yellow lines? I believe we have criteria for the installation of yellow lines adjacent to driveways. So does this situation meet that criteria? Thank you.
Through Madam Mayor, as per the resolution, the resolution before you will be implemented in compliance with our policy.
Right. I'd like to speak to this now. Yes. Thank you. Look, it's important to help residents, and I support this motion, but I'd just like to say that this all comes with operational costs, and the more yellow lines we have in a city, the higher the operating costs, which can add up to tens of thousands of dollars a year to keep painting yellow lines, repainting them. So I'd just like to flag that whilst it's nice to have some yellow lines, they do increase our costs, and environmentally I'm not so convinced that we should be splashing lots of yellow paint around the city. Visually, for aesthetics, again, this can impact the character of an area. I refer to North Adelaide, Stanley Street, Adelaide City Council decisions clearly not to ever paint a line on Stanley Street because it affects the character of the street. So I would just like to raise awareness about lines, and perhaps that's something a new council may like to think about, so we don't automatically just keep painting lines all over our streets and increasing our costs. There might be other ways. Thank you.
Councillor Hughes.
I have a few questions from staff. It was mentioned in the report that this area would be part of the 40 km/h survey and study. Do we see that potentially doing this work? I'm asking you to gaze into your crystal ball and perhaps predict the future, that there may be changes if we change the 40 km/h in that area anyway, that these items would essentially become redundant or unnecessary.
Yeah, through Madam Mayor, what's being intimated here, I don't believe it'll be impacted negatively by a 40k zone, if that is even implemented. So no, I don't have an issue with that conflicting.
Councillor Turnbull.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Question, is it correct that yellow lines cannot be painted anymore in Burnside Council area? We were told that, as a rhetorical question really. We were told that because there was a resident in Lockwood Road who wanted to put yellow lines to show that people couldn't park there on church, after church, etc. And he joked about buying aerosol cans. So that's how I know that we were told, because we had to tell him, no more yellow lines.
Through Madam Mayor, if I may, there's a nuance to that. The policy clearly talks about the fact that we do have the ability to put yellow lines in appropriate areas. We don't have the ability to put yellow lines across driveways. So that may have been what was referred to.
Right, because we went and checked some other places as well, and they had them over their driveways, and he thought it was very unfair.
Yeah, so what you will find is there will be an historical aspect to a lot of this. So at some time in the past, it would have been a practice to put yellow lines across driveways, and then as our policy position and legislations has evolved, we've had to have regard for that. So going forward, we're not in the practice, as per our policy, of not putting it across driveways. And when we come to, for example, those streets that have the historical yellow lines and driveways, that will over time be ameliorated by a resale program where those lines won't be replaced.
Thank you.
Lots of nods coming from the staff behind you as well. Next is Councillor Piggott.
Thank you. This is what local government's all about, isn't it? A debate about yellow lines. Fantastic. And I have an opinion on it as well, which is actually totally contrary, I'm sorry, to Councillor Henschke. And my observation of administration actually is they've been dogged at times about not giving people yellow lines when they want them. A number of residents have maintained considerable campaigns to get yellow lines, not across their drives, but quite near their drives often, or at corners. And generally the answer has been no. So I think that is being managed on a fairly efficient sort of way. The motion at hand, that it doesn't seem having understanding it now. I think it's a no-lose situation. They are all things that actually maintain the status quo but formalise it probably, at least number 2 does, and then number 3 gets something done that has been promised. So I feel if this was a officer's recommendation, it would have been waved through without debate, and I'm certainly happy to support it.
Councillor Jones.
Can I ask a question, please? This council can do what it wants, can't it? We can paint yellow lines wherever we feel like it.
Madam Mayor, I might refer that to Mr Kent just to talk to us about the policy position or...
Through your worship, council, as long as it's not ultra-virus, can make any decision that deems appropriate. Your policy position is that we don't place yellow lines over driveways because it's essentially redundant. You're not allowed to park over driveways, so it's an illegal act, and you will be punished for doing so if caught. However, if council wish to place yellow lines across driveways, it can do so, but it is redundant.
Right, Councillor Hughes.
just going to keep asking some more questions about the yellow lines because we're on a roll now. It's not the yellow lines. Can I, because we've spoken about this before, I'm not sure if I understand, but the yellow lines is not what makes parking illegal. It's the actual street sign physically that makes the parking illegal. Is that correct? So the yellow line doesn't actually make it illegal?
Through me, Mayor, might get Mr. Cant to clarify.
Sorry. Through your worship, it is illegal to park on a continuous yellow line, and we consider a continuous yellow line being greater than 3 metres in length. Okay. So the short yellow line either side of a driveway or across the driveway is not considered a continuous yellow line.
Okay. Thank you.
Right, I don't have anyone else on my list here, but I just wanted to ask a question or make a comment before I go back to Councillor Davey, and that is that I understand that Nordpain and St Peters are going to be doing quite a bit of work on the north-western corner of the site where it's been all demolished, and I think from that perspective we're going to need to continue to look, or the future council is going to need to look at that development because it could potentially pose issues to do with both traffic and parking, as there's a massive amount of construction going to take place, I understand, on that north-western corner of McGill and Portrush Road.
Isn't it a new ambulance?
Well, whatever. Yes, I don't know what it's going to be, but I know that there's going to be some massive construction works over there. And of course, as soon as you've got construction works, you've got an awful lot of vehicles wanting to park. Lots and lots and lots of them, and for long periods of time, as many of our residents are experiencing right now. All right. Sorry, Councillor Jones, did you wish to speak?
I've got another question, please. When is the yellow lines policy up for review?
Through Madam Mayor, have you got the document there, Mr. Cant? Certainly during the next term of council. No, sorry, I can't say that either. I would imagine.
Through the Mayor, the council can bring any policy back to the table to review at any time, but the review of this one is May 2024.
All right, Councillor Henschke, you have a question?
Yes, please. Have there been any requests for yellow lines adjacent to driveways in this street?
Madam Mayor, I have to refer that to Mr. Cant.
Through the Mayor, I can confirm that in that street, no.
Thank you. I shall now go back to Councillor Davey.
Thank you all very much for your input and for your questions to help tidy up this area. There has been a huge onslaught that the residents have experienced during the intersection upgrade project, and the experience since the work was completed nearly 12 months ago in November 2021. The streets and that area's traffic patterns have settled somewhat. However, there are still parking issues, there are still access issues, particularly in Oban Street. The traffic rates have increased in some of the adjacent streets, and it's an ongoing monitoring problem. The whole Beulah Park precinct has major traffic problems. There are also increases in through traffic and congestion in Salop Street, which Council's likely to hear about soon. I acknowledge and am grateful that the master plan community consultation on the 40k per hour speed limit proposal for local streets will be undertaken in early 2023, and the residents are looking forward to this to be able to provide their input and are generally supportive. But this work, just in this little precinct, needs to be completed soon to assist the local community and allow the streets to settle. I understand they have been working with the council's traffic people about improving parking, and with yellow lines or not, I think yellow lines have been requested. So it's to support their need for parking regulation and management in their little street for all the reasons I outlined, for their safe access and egress, for their rubbish bins to be collected, so they can get in and out of their homes to shop and work, and so that the traffic patterns in the area can settle. I think this is a good way that we can assist with that and support it, so I hope you'll support this motion tonight. Thank you.
Those in favour? Those against? The motion is carried. Now we move to 11.4, and that's Councillor Davey as well.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had a couple of questions. I move in accordance with the recommendation. And I just have a couple of questions, one of which has been answered, which was about the disco lights in front of the Burnside Hospital, which I keep getting questions about, and it's all lit up at night in purple, and it's because it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and the lighting has been put up in purple, which I think looks awful, but it serves a purpose and it's got an intent, so that's fine. The other issue I have is regarding the East West Service Level Agreement, and I just wondered if there's how we're being involved in this and when this is likely to start or be undertaken. Thank you.
Through Madam Mayor, I'll refer that to Mr Kent.
Through your worship, East West has service level agreements with all of its member councils, and as they've not been updated since 2012-13, I spoke to the General Manager of East West a couple of months ago and suggested it would be a good idea to do a review to make sure everything's relevant and still working to both our needs as well as East West, as well as the residents. At a board level, I believe they decided to do a service review of all of their member councils at the same time. So each of the member councils are involved at an administrative level, and we continue those conversations on a regular basis. So I believe they're starting early 2023, and we expect it to be done in the tail end of the financial year.
Anything further, Councillor Davey?
Yes, another question, if I may. And that's at para 29 about the Regal Theatre and the Marrickville Precinct Master Plan. I'm just wondering and this is projecting to the new council, whether when the development of the project plan with Norwood and Payneham and St Peters is being finalised, when in the next council there'll be a workshop likely for elected members?
Through Madam Mayor, I don't know if Mr Kent's got the schedule in front of him, but we've certainly had conversations around this.
Yeah, through your worship, I don't have the schedule in front of me, I apologise. I'll have to take that on notice. The project plan has been presented to both executive teams from both councils, and I believe it's been approved at the executive team level from both. If it hasn't happened yet, and I apologise, I'm just back from leave, we will be doing an information document to elected members to provide an update on that at some point, which will include the milestones and the steps involved in that process. So if you haven't been yet, you will certainly be advised shortly.
Is that it, Councillor Davey? Yes. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone, Councillor Cornish, you seconding?
Seconding the motion and happy to put it.
And you don't wish to speak? No. Councillor Henschke, you have a question or wish to speak?
A question, please, for the administration, through the Mayor, please. I'm just looking for, we've had an unusually wet winter, and it's been a challenge to mow verges, the verge mowing service, and I'd just like to hear from the administration how we'll manage that going forward. If we keep having wet winters, will that mean maybe new machinery, other considerations? Thank you.
Through Madam Mayor, can I refer it to Mr Kent?
Through the Mayor, It has been an extremely wet start to the season, and we have had problems both mowing open space and verges. When the sun has been shining, the team has been out flat chat getting those verges done and getting reserves mowed. We're hoping that from here on in it will be back to normal in terms of keeping on top of the mowing schedule. If, like anything else, circumstances change and things become a little more permanent in terms of those changes, then we're always looking at how we deliver that service and the levels of service that we provide to the community. And if circumstances change, we'll of course review where we are and look to bring back those changes or opportunities at that time.
Councillor Piggott.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to propose an amendment. Actually, I don't really. I just said that. I just said that for Councillor Dawes' benefit. I would like to take the opportunity, though, to, given this is my last opportunity, the last CEO report that I will be voting to receive, I did actually want to make mention of the fine work that has been done by the CEO. We all remember, I'm sure, the circumstances that he started here, and we had terminated the previous one. I think we'd gone 6 months under the actually pretty solid management of acting CEOs and management, but there was quite a job to be done. And I'm sure we also all remember the photo in the local press of Chris's tattoos and motorbike very early on. And from that sort of perhaps worrying start, I feel that it's fair to say that Chris has done a great job as CEO. I feel he has run this organisation, which people outside these groups really just do not understand the complexities and the stakeholders that are involved in local government. It's a big business in its own right, but it also has to be in the public lens and respond to all of its residents with all their idiosyncrasies. And Chris, with the valuable assistance of management, I think it's fair. It's the CEO's report, so I'm sticking to the motion, but it's also true, I feel, that the management here is also outstanding. So I wanted to take the opportunity to thank Chris. Personally, he's generally worked with me. He's put up with the odd dummy spit or waited it out. He's told me that that's what happens, just wait it out. And he was good enough to do that. But yeah, I think I do leave this place, I think, in excellent shape. Not due to my work, but due to the combined work, I guess, of all. But yeah, no, I'm proud of being at the City of Burnside for 12 years, and I'm certainly proud of the city that it is today. And I would certainly like to commend the CEO for his efforts.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's very humbling. Thank you for those comments. If I may, Madam Mayor, I won't be at the last meeting of this council. So if I may make a few comments.
I was going to leave that to the business a little bit later.
Oh.
Do you mind?
I can wait.
We could do it then?
Yep.
Okay.
But,
all right, because we've got...
Thank you, Councillor Piggott.
I've just got a question that I'd like to ask since it was raised about the verge mowing, and that's just in relation to the potential for this happening again next year. And that is... What's wrong, Councillor? And just a question in relation to how we might communicate that better in the future. I know probably all of us have had complaints about verge mowing this winter, and I have put people onto the Facebook page and said, look, you know, it's there on the Facebook page. I have communicated the message, but I'm just wondering if we can consider, or council administration could consider, potentially other ways of communicating the delay that happened this year, if that's likely to happen again next year. And I don't have the solution, I just wanted to raise the question because, as I said, we've all had, I'm sure, complaints from people about their verges or their open spaces not being mowed. So, just wanted to take that point on. You didn't wish to speak? All right, and I have no one on the screen, so it's back to Councillor Davey. Happy to put the motion. Those in favour of the motion? Those against? Carried. Yes, there are no motions on notice. Urgent and other business. I was just going to speak before the CEO does, make a personal comment in relation to Councillor Piggott and the fact that, you know, we have been together for 12 years, and I know you won't be at the last meeting of the council, so I really wanted to say thank you to you personally rather than via email for all of the contributions that you've made over those 12 years. Not just to your own ward of Kensington Gardens and McGill, but to the council generally. You've been on so many committees, particularly the auditing type, but I do appreciate and respect all the efforts that you've put in over the last 12 years, and I just wanted to make that particular comment since it's not going to be here next meeting. And I think maybe a round of applause might be useful. Councillor Lemon?
Can I just add something to that, if I may? To Councillor Piggott, I just want to add that when we first were elected in 2012, you had the pleasure of being elected to the East Waste Board, and we were in the middle of a stoush, $1 million stoush with them, and you gritted your teeth and saw it to the end, to our benefit, to Burnside Council's benefit. But it was really hard work, and I've very much admired you going through that. And I don't think any of us knew how hard it was for you as the absolute council newbie. You had no idea to go and sit on a subsidiary when they all hated us and they all thought we'd stolen money from them in our own sort of, you know, like we're ripping them off in some way. And you fixed it all. So thank you for that, and everything else, of course. But that in itself was just deep end stuff and admirable.
Now, unless there's anyone else who wishes to say something.
Oh, I will.
All right, Councillor Hughes.
Why not? I also would like to thank Councillor Piggott. I really enjoyed the time working with you through the Era Water, my time on Era Water Board, but with you on the Audit Committee. I think you worked well together, and I really appreciated your support and input over that time, and you will be missed in the City of Burnside, so thank you.
Anyone else wish to add anything?
Not as our rep.
You want to add something?
Councillor Davey?
Yes, I'll add my thanks personally. I endorse all of the comments that have been made from the Mayor to my colleagues as well. Yes, I've had the pleasure and the challenge of working with Councillor Piggott for the last 12 years. Mainly a challenge, a pleasure I should say. And we've had some interesting sparring times and robust debates, but it's been fabulous to work with you because your intent has always been for the betterment of the community, for the administration and the business of council and the community. So I thank you for that and all that work you've done on East Waste as well.
Anyone else?
See you from afar.
We can go and...
I'm our neighbour award with you.
All right. Okay, now Mr Cowley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First to say thank you, Councillor Piggott, again for those words. Very humbling. I was reflecting on that article you mentioned just last week when I gave a presentation to LG Pro Emerging Leaders. We were talking about media and building relationships with media. And I remember distinctly sitting in the car park before I met the council collectively as the first time, looking over the article, read it about 10 times, going, do I just drive home now? But thankfully, you saw there might be a bit more to me, and I think, you know, the history that we have together now has proved that perhaps you made the right decision. But reflecting on that decision, I can't do what I do without the support of my team. I think we've built a fabulous team at the City of Burnside, the senior managers and in fact all the staff. We do take it very seriously, our role and our privilege to serve the community of the City of Burnside, and in that is our service to you as the elected body. I agree with Grant. Our roles at times can be thankless because the community don't quite appreciate what goes into what we do. But it is in sincerity that I thank you for your support over your times that I've had the privilege of being here, and I wish you all the very best for the future, whatever that may hold. Many of you are running for re-election, and so I wish you every success. And for those that have chosen to not rerun. I wish you all the best for your future endeavours, whatever they may hold. Thank you.
Sorry, I will close this meeting at 7:45, and you were right, Mr. Councillor